Welcome to Everything All Right, our literary talk. It's the Jubilee edition. I'm actually wearing Union Jack, blue, white, and red. Our guest has got a red chair. And today we're welcoming a lady who really knows what she's writing about, criminal law barrister and best-selling author Victoria Dowd. Welcome, Victoria.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me on.
Well, thank you for joining us because you're so busy. Your latest book number 4 in the Smart Women's Mystery series, what an amazing title, is out. Tell me more about it, please.
Basically, they're classic whodunits in the kind of Agatha Christie style, but they're updated with a lot more kind of dark humor as well. So they follow a very unreliable narrator, Ursula Smart, hence the Smart Woman's Guide, and her mother, Pandora, and Aunt Charlotte. They were originally in the first book a book group. They don't really get much further than reading the same book over and over again and drinking far too much Prosecco, which is probably familiar to lots of people in book groups.
No.
So yeah, following on from that, they go on various different trips where they end up in murderous situations.
So you obviously know what you're writing about. How did you get into writing? Because you're an accomplished career woman.
Well, I've always been writing from quite a young age, mostly short stories. But it's not the sort of thing that I thought would pay the rent, to be honest. And so when I went to university, it was always, I'm going to study law, I'm going to be a lawyer. And writing was very much a kind of side thing that I did for fun. But then I won an award for a short story and started getting those published and thought, actually, I might be able to do this. Wrote a book, wrote another book, then another book, and finally got one published. So, yeah, it all kind of went from there, really.
And did you get published with an agent? What helped you most getting an agent? Because it can be such a soul-destroying journey.
It is. Anybody out there who's trying, it is incredibly difficult, and the odds are stacked hugely against people, I think, because there's so many people who want to be published. I did it kind of upside down. I got a publisher first and I got a 2-book deal with an option on books 3 and 4, which I was, over the moon with, without an agent. So there are publishers you can submit to. There are often big publishers who have a window of time where you can submit without an agent, because I was finding that perhaps the agents I wanted weren't reading the book, maybe, and it was going, it wasn't even being read. It was coming back with Dear Author, or it was somebody who was, an intern working over the summer. They read the first page or whatever. So I wasn't even able, I don't think, to get it in front of people very easily. And I was very lucky to get the publishing contract. And then recently, I kind of thought this is all getting quite a lot for me to do by myself with the books and everything else. So I did then go and get an agent.
It's always fascinating to hear this because every author really has got their method to madness. And how your novels obviously attracted the eye, so well done you. That's just amazing. How do you go about planning your crime novels?
I'm quite a planner because they are a whodunit. So I have to have all the clues in the right places, and they're fair play detective fiction, basically. So the clues have to be there. It can't be, the guy who you passed on at the bus stop in chapter 1. It has to be meticulously planned. So I have murder boards that are, the classic kind of pinboard. I have all the red string and the photos and all that kind of thing. And I use lots of those, actually. And for my 3rd book, what I was finding was that I was losing characters quite a lot. So it's set in a small village, and they go on a safari supper club. So they move from house to house, having a course in each house around this village in the dark. So people are dipping in and out, and you don't know where everybody is at each particular moment. But I actually was starting to lose people and finding, oh my God, that person would have known this, that person wouldn't have been here at that moment. So my son built me the village out of Lego, and I had a minifigure for each character. And as they moved in the book, they moved around the village as well.
And don't you just find that modern technology is very hard to deal with, because the mobile phone basically kills any plot, because you always ask, so why didn't he or she just call? How do you deal with that?
Very difficult. It's very difficult. I find that increasingly I was finding ways to kind of isolate them. But actually, in the fourth book, I decided I have to meet this head on. I can't have them constantly, you know, in a storm, in a flood, there's a snowfall. So what I did in this one was start at the actual murder trial. So the police have immediately become involved. They are in the murder trial, and you can see who has been accused and who was the victim. And it's kind of a dual timeline going back in time to when it happened. But the first three, yeah, I did have to kind of invent various ways. Although also I found that they wanted to isolate themselves in particular circumstances. So and I think lots of us do a lot of the time. So they went on a kind of Bear Grylls survival course, which, you know, is completely wrong for them to do. And they didn't fit so well with that. But I think lots of people do try to find off-grid ways of living, or just for a period of time at least. So that helped in that instance.
Yeah, increasingly so. It's interesting that you mentioned the fair play crime. How do you actually explain the success of the queen of all crime novels, Agatha Christie? Because actually in her novels and plots, it's not fair play at all. It's always the son nobody knew about, you know, the inspector who got lost in the very beginning. There's actually the reader cannot know. How do you explain her success then?
I think she is fair play, and I think she does it really well, to the extent that the clues are there, but they're hidden so well, it almost seems like it's not fair play. But I think a large part of her success is that you can imagine the people and the place very easily, and you feel immediately comfortable in your surroundings and with your people. Or it's a kind of a world where you imagine you're comfortable, but there's something slightly just off. So you're immediately thinking it's not quite right here. So for instance, in something like The Moving Finger, it's a beautiful little village that we all would love to go to. It's got the vicar, it's got, you know, the squire. But actually from the very word go, there's somebody writing nasty anonymous letters. And you kind of think, oh, I can imagine that happening, but it's very jarring and it's very, yeah. But I think ultimately it is at the very heart of it, the puzzle. She was really good at crosswords and loved them. And I think it is in hers, the puzzle is so perfect in most of them that you cannot, she sets herself against the reader. Can you get the answer before I give it to you? And you never can. You know, I think it's because her puzzles are the most perfect.
Are you as inspired by your surroundings? Because in your day-to-day profession, nothing human is foreign to you now. You must have seen it. Is it difficult for you to draw the line?
I suppose so, yeah. I like to create an environment that I think is quite familiar to people, or one that I feel comfortable writing about. So for my latest one, it is in a courtroom, and I go into that kind of strange, almost archaic environment that an English courtroom has. You know, they're in wigs and gowns, but they've got a laptop and an iPad, which is ridiculous, you know, but there is a kind of gravitas to it. And also the fact that it's almost like an office that they're in a lot of the time. So it's a lot of administrative stuff happening around this murder trial, and how often the defendant seems very other to their own trial. They don't speak for a long period of time. So my publishers were saying, no, she hasn't spoken. The defense barrister's not spoken. The defendant's not spoken. They don't for a long period of time in the case. So, yeah, I think that I like to have an environment that I know, or I kind of know.
And what do you then find hardest to write in your crime novels? Because there must be bits that are quite gruesome or...
Yeah, the gruesome I quite enjoy writing. I like, and they're not too gruesome either. I mean, some people do say there is somebody killed by a chandelier and they're sort of impaled on it, and someone on a docking stool. But the thing I find hardest to write, I would say, is the kind of bit where you're sort of 2/3 in and you're trying to keep the reader's attention, but you cannot flag up anything important. So you've got to have those beats at the right point in the book to keep the reader's attention. And it's that bit, I'm writing a book at the moment where it's just that bit where you think, oh, this is so boring, this bit, but it has to be here. How do I not give anything away, not make it boring, that bit, and keep that tension level throughout? That I find the most difficult bit, that sort of 2/3 point.
And you've won many awards and you spoke at the Agatha Christie Festival. So who inspires your writing most?
Oh, it's Agatha Christie, yes, very much so, very much so. I love her books, but also lots of golden age detective writers. I love John Dixon Carr because I love writing locked room mysteries. So there's a lot of controversy over, what is it just an impossible crime? Is it a locked room? Is it a closed circle? And I love his books, such as The Hollow Man, where he actually has a whole chapter that is simply telling you how to write a locked room mystery. And I love the trick of them, and how you get to that denouement and you think, oh God, it was this, so yeah, I'm very inspired by those kind of novels, golden age detective novels, such as Campion. I reference them in my books as well.
So if Agatha Christie had her puzzles and their crossword, what does your writing day look like? What's your structure? What's your routine?
Oh, mine's a lot more boring than that. I mean, that's the main thing I would say to anybody who wants to be a writer. You have to write a huge amount and the hours are quite long. So I'll be at my desk for about 9 o'clock. I might, faff about on social media for a little bit of time, or doing my website, or all those things you have to do. But I limit that to just, an hour. And then it's just sitting at the desk for probably 5 to 6 hours writing. I don't usually go past 6 o'clock at night, I have to say. That's no for me. But it is, very much just tied to the desk for hours on end. But I try to be quite strict with myself and see it as a job. So I don't work past 6 o'clock at night usually, unless it's a big editorial deadline. And I try not to work at weekends as well. And I try to have holiday times off. So I have kids and I try to, be around and not constantly in the office.
So is that your top tip for nascent novelists? Get going, but also, take a break.
Yeah. And my big top tip would be just keep going. Everybody I know, pretty much, it's taken years to get the book published. And there will be points when you think, this is never going to happen. Just keep going. I think it's very rare for someone to write a book, get a publisher and an agent and get it out there straight away. I think that is very unusual. So I would say, yeah, just keep going. And even if you have to put one of the books in a bottom drawer and go on to another book, I think everybody's got a few books in their bottom drawers.
Definitely. But you're mentioning you're writing your next book. So what is next? Another one in the series for the smart women?
There will be, but I've started a new series, which is set in 1929 and is a journalist called Charlotte Blood. and she is sent off to an old country house to try and work out how somebody died who was killed a year ago on New Year's Eve. And it focuses on, it's a locked lift mystery. So all the people were in a lift at the same time. The lights went out, someone was shot, the lights came back up, there's a gun and a dead body. There is no way of working out which one of the people in the lift did it, but there is a way.
I love the sound of that. Old country houses, I'm immediately there. So that takes us already to the 5 faves. Very quickly, Victoria, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, my favorite movie has to be Rebecca.
Oh, I'm with you. Your favorite book?
Rebecca would be my favorite.
Yes.
Well, yes. Between that one and Then There Were None is also one of my favorite books. That is just a fabulous book. But Rebecca would be my film, the old one, the Laurence Olivier one. I think that's very much, in that kind of mystery, but I love all the gothic in it as well. That, there's something dark there and you never see her and you never know the lady's name. I love that.
And that twist at the end, just that twist at the end. It's just fabulous, unmatched. What's your favorite music score?
My favorite music score for a movie?
Yes, or a song, or, Bach or Chopin, whatever.
Oh, gosh, good question.
Or ABBA.
Oh, let me think. Well, I'd have to say a band called Topaz, who I don't know if anybody would have heard of them. They are on Spotify, and it is my husband's band.
Oh, well, there you go. That's a good reason. And
he sings, the lady who used to sing in the Beautiful South, and he writes the songs and plays the guitar, and she's the singer.
Oh, I love the Beautiful South. I mean, just so cool, the songs. So cool. What's the favorite food?
Favorite food? Oh, my favorite food has got to be marmalade. I'm a bit of a Paddington.
Isn't that Paddington? You're in best company. Is that, or does he like Marmite? I'm always mixed up.
Oh, it's marmalade. I mean, I'm a bit of a Paddington. I do love a bit of marmalade.
On toast with butter. That's delicious. And what's your favorite travel destination? That's the last fave.
Oh, it's got to be Italy. I'd say, I love Italy. I love all around Tuscany and going to places like Rome and Venice. And I've really missed traveling during the pandemic. I think everybody has, really. So, yes. But my next destination I want to go to that I've never been to is Egypt. And I really want to set a book there inside one of the pyramids. So...
There we're solidly back with Agatha Christie, aren't we? So
yes.
Thanks so much for joining us today. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching to Everything All Right. My guest today was Victoria Dowd, and we talked about her latest novel, A Book of Murder, which is book 4 of the Smart Women mystery series. So that's for all of us. It's out with Joffe Books. Order the novel online, or better still, buy it at your independent bookstore. I am Ellen Alpsten. Subscribe to Everything All Right. Be in the know. And listen and watch us next time.